When I'm doing my Lidl shopping, I'm often asked by strangers what is the best and worst feature of each racing simulator. Now, I could tell all those people individually, but instead what I've elected to do is produce this video where I'm going to list the absolute best and the absolute worst feature. Technically the worst feature would not be a feature, but the best thing and the worst thing of each racing simulator. We're going to be brutal. There's literally only one good thing and one bad thing. We're totally no grey area. We're breaking things down to absurdity, which is always the best thing to do. So we have the list of the sims there: iRacing, AC, ACC, AMS2, Rennsport, Rfactor 2, Race Room. I've missed out big rigs over the road racing there. Sorry about that, guys. There's nothing wrong with that game, so we didn't need to put it there. Let's start with iRacing. The best feature is it's gonna have to just be the online ranked racing, isn't it? The ranked racing. I mean, it does have, so iRacing does have its nice. I think the user interface is quite nice. It's easy to set up and get going. Laser scan tracks. But fundamentally, the main reason to play iRacing will be the online ranked racing and the number of people in it. So online ranked racing has to go there for iRacing. Not really, no, there's nothing really controversial there. That's the best feature. Fact. The worst feature, I mean, I'm tempted to put the bandits, the F4 bandits. I know the best feature of iRacing is the voice chat. Especially angry Italians. Sorry, guys. Voice chat is the best feature of iRacing. The voice chat. Right, we got that. That's good. What was I thinking? Ranking. The worst feature has to be... It's the tyre model at the limit. I mean... The price of it's a pretty bad feature. Having to subscribe and also buy content, that is a terrible feature. That is awful. Maybe also the feature of being able to buy an additional Smurf account that completely breaks the whole logic and reasoning behind ELO systems, and some would argue would be a bit exploitative and a bad thing for a company to do. That would be a terrible feature, but I'm going to go with the tyre model at the limit, because you're playing a racing sim, the physics are probably quite important. Tyre model at limit. The tyres, at the limit, the tyres overheat, turn off, and you can't drive properly. Supposedly they're working on fixing it, but we're on new tyre model 5 million, and the last tyre model came out when Pangea was being formed, so I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever be fixed. I'm hopeful. I do like when they do new tyre models though, so I'm hopeful. AC, guys, we've done iRacing. That's it. Please send a written letter to gamermuscle at gamermuscle.idon'tgiveashitwhatyousay.com. AC, right, here we go. Best feature. Some people would say the mods. Oh god, some people would say just driving around a road aimlessly with traffic or drifting. The mods are amazing in AC, but is that the best feature? For me, I mean, the force feedback is amazingly detailed, but then the tyres at the limit, obviously it doesn't have rain and stuff, what it does in the mods, but like, you know, it doesn't. For dry driving, if you want to do dry driving and experience driving a car in the dry, in optimal conditions, AC's tyres, if put it this way, if every other sim had AC's tyre model, apart from how it is on the curbs, I'd be bloody happy. Everyone would be very happy. Well, not the fanboys would, but anyone with brain cells would be happy. So I'm going to say the best feature is the tyre model, controversially. I'm also going to say that is far too big for me to be able to fit on the screen, and I need to learn how to use a computer. So that would be a good feature for Gamer Muscle. Let's just do this. Here we go. Tyre model. How do you use computers? I don't know. Tyre model. It's a very sexy tyre model. It's probably the force feedback though. I'm sticking with tyre model for now as the best feature. Worst feature. It probably is the modding. It probably is the fact that it's so open. It's like that's a really good feature, but then it's made it a complete convoluted mess. It has allowed a random guy to make thousands of pounds a month off a video game, which I'm sure 505 Games are really happy about. That's a good indication as to when you've messed up your business, when you've got people literally making probably more money out of the game than the company that bought the license into the game. Whoops! So that's a worst feature for Bros Incorporated 505, whoever owns our AC now. Worst feature. Absolute worst. Oh, the curbs. The curbs. The curbs have got to be the worst. So ironically, the time model is the best and the worst feature. The curbs when you slide over them. We'll just call it slippy curbs. Slippy curbs. Slippy curbs. The netcode in AC is not the best. It's not the worst. But the slippy curbs are really annoying. I can't think of a worse thing about AC. The curbs, annoying to access due to all the mods, convoluted due to needing mods to really play it now. I'm gonna go with the time models are the best and slippy curves are the worst. I've got to go for it. ACC, the fake C, guys. On to the next Assetto, the false prophet. The worst thing about ACC, it's got to be the force feedback. I'm sorry, it's not even debatable. Now, I know that's controversial. All you ACC fanboys are going to be like, oh, Game of Muscle, you used the wrong wheel rotation. No, I don't. We tested it with every wheel rotation. Game of Muscle, your hands don't work properly. You can't feel it. Or you've got the wrong steering wheel. No, we've used every single wheel on the market. Other people's wheels, other people's setups, esports setups, home setups. We've used everything. The force feedback in ACC is terrible. No dynamic range at all. It's depressing. So are GT3 cars. Mostly. Well, actually, the mod GT3 car for AC1 is really good. That new Mercer by RSS is actually awesome. So GT3 cars don't have to be terrible. They just are in ACC. But ACC users have been absolutely conditioned. I've just realised I put that in the best category. That was meant to be the worst thing. What have I done? I just almost claimed it as the best force feedback. The best thing about ACC is not ACC, it's LFM. Kudos bailed out my modders a second time. LFM, ironically, nothing to do with Kudos directly, is the best thing about ACC. It puts everybody, it has ranking, lets people race online it lets people race bricks with terrible force feedback online competitively. LFM is amazing, absolutely amazing. It's just a shame they used the false prophet of Assetto, not the original one. They used the extra C, not the first C. One C is enough, Kunos. So LFM's the best feature, and the worst thing, as we said, is the force feedback. Some people might say, oh no, it's the graphics engine because it runs terrible, because it's Unreal, you need a supercomputer to run it. Yeah, but ultimately, the force feedback is so depressing. If you've got if you've spent £1,000 on, you guys thought you could get through a video on this channel about me complaining about AC force feedback. If you spent £1,000 on a force feedback wheel, or more, why on earth would you want to play a game that has no dynamic range specifically for the front tyres at the limit, or just it's terrible, it's awful. I'm right, guys, even Max Verstappen agrees with me, so there we go. Right, AMS2, best thing about AMS2, oh jeez, this is going to be a difficult one, guys. Should we start with the negative or the positive? The best thing about AMS2, it's not the fans of the game, that's for sure, and it's not the AMS2 forums, which is literally like a cluster of a cauldron of self-congratulatory. Gotta be careful what words I use here. So it's not the fans. I'd say the graphics engine, the Madness graphics engine, is amazing in AMS2. You know, runs great, runs really well in VR. You know, actually, that's a good thing with MS2. It's a package there with the graphics engine. The AI is not terrible. You can load into it. You can have a race. You know, it runs really nice. I think that for VR, especially if you're a hobbyist of VR, frame timing and frame consistency really has a big impact on immersion from VR. And AMS2 runs so frame timingly well, so smooth. Whilst also looking really nice, whilst also getting high frame rates with the graphics turned up, that makes a really big impact for VR and immersion in VR. So yeah, I would say graphics engine, and then that affects a whole bunch of stuff. Anything visual, you know, affects loads of things. The worst things about AMS2, or the top of the list of the AMS2 bad things, I mean, okay. There's like 2 cars that handle like cars in it. Since the last update, the P1 is still sloppy compared to AC and even ACC and iRace. Like iRacing's got problems. All sims have problems, but the weird sloppiness of the cars in AMS2, even the better ones, and then it's erratic. The cars are just really erratic. So maybe the physics are the worst thing. Not that they're universally bad physics. There's some components of the physics which are quite interesting. There's depth to it. It's got rain and weather, dynamic track. It's not abrupt and binary. The force feedback actually conveys what the cars are doing. You can adjust the force feedback. So if you're playing a racing game, you're playing it for the driving fundamentally. Then again, if you're not very good at racing and you like slidey cars that drive like a shopping trolley, that drive as if you're removing grip from the rear wheels to both turn the car in and brake in to turn the car, then maybe you like that. It's forgiving. AMS2 is forgiving, and if you had low-end equipment, also if you're playing with a gamepad, so the physics might not actually be universally a terrible thing. I mean, I personally wouldn't use AMS2 to train to drive a real car, but you could. But what's the worst thing? For me personally, it's got to be the motion sickness from it, because of if you lock it to the car, that makes me dizzy, and then the lock to horizon settings, whatever settings you do, it's going to make you motion sick. You can't. It needs a neck filter like iRacing, as we said in a previous video. I mean, I'm just tempted to say the physics really. You know, you could argue that iRacing is as broken with the physics as AMS2, though. To be honest, I mean, iRacing's tyres literally don't allow you to drive properly at the limit. The grip turns off if you go over the limit, and the tyres, as you go through a corner, keep heating up and they just turn off. That's not what tyres do. So, it's a bit unfair. But I mean, we said time model at the limit with iRacing, so AMS2, I'll just say the physics, like it's erratic content quality. That's what I'm going to go with. In terms of the actual cars themselves, it's all over the bloody shop. You could say there's only 3 people playing it as well, but you can start online sessions quite easily, and you can fill it up with AI. So it's the erratic content quality, I think. A good thing in AMS2, this is supposed to be just the best and worst things. A good thing with AMS2 is that's a bunch of tracks and stuff that you don't have in any other sim. So, but the best, we're drawing the line there. The best graphics engine. If you had that graphics engine in every other simulator, you'd be really happy. So that makes sense. This is a good way of doing it. What would you like from those sims in the other sims? This is maybe another video. But graphics engine, you would have that in any other sim. You'd be like, yeah, maybe not how it performs when you alt tab, but for visuals to performance, frame rate and everything, the AMS2 Madness engine is amazing. The content's just all over the place. Rennsport, the best feature of Rennsport. What's the best? Unreal 5's interesting. Oh, what's the best feature? It's not out yet. That's probably the worst. The worst thing of Rennsport is you can't play. No one can play it. No one can play it yet. No one can play it yet. That's a pretty bad feature when it comes to a driving simulator. You know, if no one can play it, then what's the point? The best feature of Rennsport at the moment. I wouldn't say the physics are the best. I much prefer AC, Rfactor 2, physics like handling, raw handling as the Sims. Doesn't run the best at the moment. So, you know, it does look really nice. And when you pump the graphics up to max, it looks really nice. I think it's the potential. It has a lot of potential. That's not really a feature at the moment, though, is it? I'm left in a conundrum. I'm left in a Rennsport conundrum. I mean, all it's got at the moment that we can play in the closed beta is GT3 cars, which are really bad for actually seeing what a sim's like to drive, because GT3 cars are so boring. Oh, the login! The login! You guys don't probably know about this. You can log into the game using your phone. I know this doesn't sound like a big feature, but the app integration is actually quite interesting. I think if you had that with other sims, maybe not for when you're actually at home and you want it to just bloody work, you know, you just log in once or through Steam or whatever, but for events and things, if you had a... that's just lame. That's just lame. We're stretching here. There is no best feature for Rennsport yet. No best feature yet. We'll have to think about that. Absolute disaster, Rennsport. Come on. Come on. Roll it out. Get it going. Get it going. Rfactor 2. Best feature in Rfactor 2. Michi Hoya is the best feature of Rfactor 2. That's not going to work. You can't see that. It's too big. We need to... there we go. Let's... Michi Hoya. Sorry I spelt your name. Michi Hoya is one of the 4 people that play Rfactor 2. So I'd say that's the best feature. The worst feature of Rfactor 2, nobody plays it. Apart from Michi Hoya. Obviously, Rfactor 2, I think it's got really nice handling. The SR3 is really nice in Rfactor 2. There is a bunch of cars in there that are great to drive. I actually really like it. The vintage Spa is really nice in Rfactor 2. The graphics engine, it doesn't run the best all the time, but it doesn't look terrible, especially since it's been updated. The force feedback is quite nice, but for actually feeling the absolute limit of the tyre, on average with most cars, it's not as good as the original Assetto Corsa. It's far better than ACC, don't get me wrong, and the force feedback is far better for like suspension details and sort of tyre flex and stuff. Noise, basically. Suspension compression when you're like braking into a corner, that's very loud through the wheel. But for actually feeling the actual limit, like actually balancing on the limit, similar to what you feel through your body in a real car, it's not as good as AC. There's a myth that Rfactor 2 is the best force feedback. People don't know what they're talking about. I've driven Rfactor 2 on other sim rigs, other wheels, other equipment. I do actually quite like it. I put Rfactor 2 second to AC in many ways. I do think Rfactor 2 in many ways has a better physics than AC in many ways. But I mean, obviously more, fully the tyres probably don't slop over curbs in the same way. It's got full weather and everything. Way better to drive than ACC. Not even close. But in optimal dry conditions, it's worse than AC. Like AC beats it out on sort of perfect conditions. But in overall conditions, Rfactor 2's got a more dynamic, a richer tyre, more complex tyre that in some ways is better, but actually in perfect conditions is worse. Hence why people do all the drifting in AC instead of Rfactor 2. If Rfactor 2 nailed the physics, they'd just use Rfactor 2 for drifting, obviously. So, the best feature's got to be Michi Hoya. Michi Hoyo. Michi Hoya. Go and subscribe to him, guys, on Twitch and YouTube. I can't spell your surname, I'm sorry. Well, I'm a great friend. I can't even write his name. We'll just go with that. You Google his name, those of you that can spell, and it will come up, and you will enjoy learning how to play an Rfactor 2. Fortunately, there's a new endurance simulator coming out, which totally isn't Rfactor 2 rebranded, so that they can try and move away from Rfactor 2 and try and get out of the fact that Max Verstappen told everyone to uninstall Rfactor 2. It's a bit of a convoluted way to get around a Formula 1 driver telling you to uninstall your game, coming up with another rebrand of the same game. But, credit where credit's due. That's what they've done. That's what they've gone with. And actually, I think focused content and new UI, the third UI, the fourth UI, the 10th UI, I think that's a good idea for Rfactor 2. I'm really optimistic for the endurance game or whatever it's called. When that comes out, I'm actually optimistic for that. I think that's a good choice that they made there. Yes, but the best feature, Michi Hoya. Worst feature, nobody plays it. I'm going to get fanboy bonanza in the comments of this video. Race Room. The best feature of Race Room, the netcode. The netcode. I'm sorry, guys. Race Room is one of the few games, especially when it's not the best when you're driving like Formula cars and stuff, but if you're driving like vintage, like the 90s DTM cars, or even like the 2012 DTM cars before DTM went stupid and went GT3, but the old DTM cars and cars, touring cars, anything where you have a bit of contact, Race Room is probably the only sim that really allows you to actually have a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of hustle and push. Without it being a default, you go flying off the track mentally. You can go flying off the track mentally from driving into the back of people. It's not completely universally perfect, but it is one of the most accommodating games for netcode, even when people have bad pings and stuff, for allowing you to do more aggressive driving. Weirdly, Wreckfest actually has really good netcode, or maybe it's just from the physics, but that actually allows a lot of contact and the damage and everything. Should put that on there as a sim, but I've not. But yeah, netcode, I think the sort of general online racing can be really good in Race Room, but the force feedback is good in Race Room. It's pretty good. It's not the best. I'd say Rfactor 2, AC is a lot better. I know they're actually working on changing the force feedback, and I might have tried the beta, and it might be interesting. But I can't talk about that. So, force feedback, not AC. The general netcode. The worst thing about Race Room is it's got to be the graphics engine, I think. It's got to be the graphics engine. Right, so basically, that's how you spell. We're going with it. That's it. That's how it's spelled. And this keyboard doesn't work either. Never buy it. No, I'm not going to say that. I say it live. I don't like Red Dragon keyboards. It doesn't work very well. That's my review. Red Dragon keyboard and dyslexia, the worst combination in the history of literature. We're leaving it. The graphics engine. Nailed it. That's how you type. Put it this way, if Race Room had even like ACC's horrendous, unreal, sluggish, can't use a rear view mirror graphics engine, it would be so much more fun. Like, it'd be way more popular. Or if Race Room even had like AC1 with like shader patch, or anything slightly more modern with the graphics engine, I think the game and all its content would really stand out. There's really good content in there. Force feedback's generally good. The actual general level of Race Room, the sound, it's a fun game to play. It's actually just fun. So the graphics engine, I think, is what's really holding back Race Room, unfortunately. So netcode's the best, graphics engine's the worst. And Rennsport, I've just realised, how could I have forgotten this? I'm so stupid. The best thing about Rennsport right now is the trees. That's how you spell trees. Well, we'll put them big because that's the font. That's what it's gone with. The trees in Rennsport. I've just realised now this is all cut off on here. Look, guys. This is on the fly. This is how I do things. There we go. Rough and ready. That was probably triggering all of you with OCD for the old video. I'm going to leave it just so you can complain in the comments and go, "Oh, Game of Muscle, you're so incompetent and you've left it." Deal with it. Write a letter complaint to PO Box W4E 6RJ. Game of Muscle won't read this, and this isn't actually a real postal address. There you go. So that's it, guys. That is it. What a fantastic... This is a great piece of content. I'm proud of the work I've put into this. Well thought out, well edited, well produced Game of Muscle content. What am I doing with my life? What are you doing with your lives? Well, you could be playing these simulators. You could be finding out the best and worst aspects of them for yourself. And that's really what you should do, is just do stuff yourself and not care what YouTubers say. That should be that's the moral. That's the lesson of this video. But I think that pretty much summarises the best and worst features. The single best and the single worst feature of each sim. You can't disagree with it. It's fact. This is codified in the Book of Muscle now. They'll dig this up in 4,000 years' time, because I'm going to bury this on an SD card in on a burial mound, and they're going to dig it up and they're going to be like, "Oh, this is important religious documentation," and someone will be able to not pay tax by building a religion off it. It'll be a very confusing religion. But that's it, guys. That is it. Decided. Let me know, or don't let me know in the comment section what the best or worst feature you think is, or if I've got this horrendously, terribly, catastrophically, like a submersible. No, won't go there. It's too soon. Let me know if I've got this wrong. But yeah, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for clicking the like button. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Twitch as well. Follow us on Twitter. Oh, all the social media rubbish. I mean, it's terrible. I don't recommend it. I hate the internet now. If I hear that song, if I hear that one more time, every time I accidentally load shorts up, I'm going to have an aneurysm. Right, we're ending this video. It's done. It's finished. Thanks for watching. And have a bloody strong cup of tea. Take care. Goodbye, guys.